Hey there, welcome to today's episode. It's going to be a live, unedited session. Apologies for any background noise. It's a very rainy day here in London. I'm not quite ready to give up on summer just yet, but it looks like times are a-changing. We've got Koala Sampler and the Roland P-6, and as the title of the video suggests, I just want to show you how you can use these two devices together. Now, do you need to? No, you don't. You can just use Koala Sampler, you can just use the P6, but if you own both of them, they work really well together. It's a nice little combination. I still like little bits of hardware. I like pads and buttons and encoders. And yes, I can plug in a MIDI controller to Koala Sampler. And we could even use the MIDI from the P6 to be triggering Koala Sampler if we set it up that way. But I just want to show you how easy it is to just do some basic stuff. What we're really doing is we're treating the P6 as an audio interface. And we've got it hooked up to the iPad in this case, but it could be your Android tablet, your Android device, phone, whatever it is, iOS device. And that's what we're doing. So I have a hub plugged into my iPad. It's a USB-C hub. It has a bunch of ports on it, SD card slots, a 3.5mm headphone jack, that type of thing. You pick them up from Amazon. You can get them in USB-C flavor. You can get them in Lightning format for your phones, that type of stuff. But that's what we have. And for Koala Sampler, it's kind of a necessity because ideally, I want to hook it up to my audio interface, hook up a MIDI controller, whatever it happens to be. You're going to need really some kind of hub. With the hub plugged in, the USB-C cable from the P6 is being plugged directly into that hub, and really that's the only connection between the two devices. I've got my iPad plugged into a power outlet just because I'm in the studio, but if I was on the move, really that's how we'd hook these two things up. There's a couple of other cables here. We're using the P6 as the audio interface, so in the studio, or even if you're on the move, I still have access to plug things into the Roland P6's input. So my turntable, synths, anything around the studio can be coming into the P6 device. And because we're using the P6 as the audio interface for Koala Sampler, the output needs to go to something. Now here, again, because I'm in the studio, the output from the P6 is plugged into my main audio interface, into my computer, so you guys can hear what's going on. But if I was on the move and I'm in the coffee shop wanting to make some beats on the go, this could be to headphones, or it could be to a portable speaker, could be anything that you like. That's how we're going to use it. When the P6 is plugged into the hub, Koala Sampler will recognize that as the audio interface, the audio input. If I go to settings, make sure you're over on your audio tab, you will see Roland P6 in a list. If you've got other things plugged in, you might see those as well. The P6 is here. Currently, you can't split it. Now, if I do exactly the same thing, it's all plugged in the same way, but I use Logic Pro on the iPad, I can select the P6 as a separate audio input or output source, or combine the two, just like you can on Koala. But with Koala currently, with the current firmware, you can't separate that, which would be nice. It'd be nice to be able to do that. Let's say I only want the P6 just as the audio input source, but I want the output source to be maybe the 3.5mm jack on my hub or something else. Then I would like to be able to kind of split it inside. But currently, it's set. So when it's set to the P6, that's what it's doing. The audio is going through the P6 and out. But the cool thing is we can send audio back in, and it's really, really simple to do. So once it's hooked up, let's do a practical demonstration. Let's just take a sample. And I've got some snare drums just in a folder. It doesn't really matter. We could use anything. Let's say this is our snare drum. I load it into Koala Sampler. Just going to make sure it's a one-shot. Now what you'll notice is it's receiving audio back in, so as I trigger this snare drum on the pad, we can see it coming as the input source from the P6 back into Koala Sampler. So anyone who's used Koala Sampler, you're probably already ahead of me here, but for those that are maybe new to Koala Sampler, what it means is that we can just record that sample straight back into Koala Sampler, and because it's going through the P6, we could apply effects at exactly the same time. The one thing you don't want to do is turn on your monitoring, which is this little headphone icon. By default, it's always off. If you turn that on, you're going to create a feedback loop and it's not going to be very pleasant. But if we keep it off, let's say we want some effects from the P6, a little delay. We'll just use one of the basic ones. I'm not even going to change the parameters, but of course I could change the parameters. There we go. We've got a little delay added to that snare drum. So in order to re-record it back into Koala, we just press recording, trigger this, give it enough time, and then stop the recording. Open it up. Koala Sampler is smart. It's found the beginning of the sample. You can play around with volume levels, but because of the way Koala Sampler works, it's very simple to just crop that and quickly normalize. turn the effect off because I don't want to be doubling up on that effect. And now we've got this. So we've taken that effect from the P6 and recorded it right back into Koala Sampler. It's really, really nice to use like that. That means we've got all of the effects from the P6. There's a hell of a lot on this little device. Not quite as many as the SP404 Mark II, but we've got our vinyl sim, cassette sim, lo-fi, compression, that type of stuff, reverbs, all types of things. So we can use any of those, and we can use them with Koala Sampler. Koala Sampler has its own effects, so then you can stack those up as well if you like. Use combinations of the two. But there is something nice about the sound quality from these Roland devices. I don't know what it is. They just always feel a little bit, I don't know, louder and warmer. It might just be my imagination, but there's something about the P6 and the SP404 Mark II in terms of sound quality. So it's nice to be able to have that to play around with inside of Koala Sampler. Now, the other cool thing that we can do, we can't do this in real time because the resampling doesn't work like that on the P6. It's not like an effect that you just turn off and on. We actually do resample, or we sample at a different sample rate. And that's what we're going to take a look at here. So we can't just turn this on and do the same thing in real time, but we are still listening to Koala Sampler from the P6. So if I go into sampling mode, you'll notice I've got a bunch of empty pads, but as I trigger my snare drum, it shows up here. We can see the volume level, so it's still coming through the P6. So if I wanted to take advantage of the lo-fi sample rates, I can go to lo-fi and set this, and let's say we want the snare drum super lo-fi, we'll do 1100. I could have it as stereo or mono. We'll just leave it as stereo. Choose a pad, record. I've got my threshold set up so that it's going to wait for me to trigger the sample. There we go, let that play. I'm just going to stop it there. It's going to normalize it and bring up the volume anyway, so we're not really too worried if it's a low signal. And then we have our snare drum. All nice and lo-fi, and because it's now on the device, super lo-fi, I can adjust the volume level if I need to, bring it up a bit, and we can just record that straight back into Koala Sampler, and just quickly do the same thing. I'm just going to crop and normalize, and if I want to, of course, we can just trim that down as well. So this is the original, and here is the super lo-fi version. All set up and ready to go inside the Koala. So hopefully you can see the potential there between these two devices. We've got this fantastic step sequencer. The P6 on its own is a great way, putting drum loops together, that type of stuff. And then you've got all the power of Koala Sampler as well. And between the two of these, I think you'd have a lot of fun with this. So anyway, I'm going to sign off there. I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.